Hello and welcome back to Turn by Turn, Season 3, Episode 3. Today we are talking a game called Super Mario RPG. Depending on how hardcore you feel about this game, I saw a lot of people listing this as one of their top games of all time, which was interesting to me because I enjoyed it quite a bit, but I don't know if I'd put it in my top 10 of all time. For sure, but let's start a little more vague. So Chris is with me as always.
Wahoo!
I just launched in there. I was going to do the whole episode on my own and just have you periodically say yep and yeah.
And wahoo!
Yeah. So starting vaguely, are you a big Mario fan? Is this your cup of tea?
All right. So I'm gonna say some things, and I'm gonna be bold. I'm gonna say the things that you all are afraid to say.
Uh-oh.
I have never liked Mario's design.
His design, like his costume, or like the concept in general?
Like I was more of a Sonic person growing up, and I think part of it is like Sonic is cool. Like he's always been the cool guy. Except when he's cringe, which is funny. But I don't know, like Sonic I just like aesthetically a lot more than Mario. You know, I never wanted to play as Mario, really. Which is good because this game does offer you a lot of options to not do that. But and it's not an unfamiliar, it's not that I'm not familiar. It's not a familiarity thing because I've played like Mario 1, 2, 3, a bunch of the games. I did Sunshine, 3D World, 64, now Super Mario RPG. I've done some of the Paper Marios. I did some of the Mario and Luigi RPGs. But I don't know. I've just never been that into Mario as a character. Oh, and tons of Mario Kart and Mario Party, which are awesome.
Mm-hmm. Because I think I remember you saying that you were more into the Mario sports games. Is that true? Or
I definitely played those as a kid too. I played a lot of Mario Strikers because that was really fun. Mario Power Tennis was fun. And it's funny because those are also developed by Camelot, that made the Shining Force games that I hold so dearly. But yeah, I don't know. Like I've always just kind of had a weird relationship with Mario, and I've never been that into Mario, despite thinking the games are really fun.
That's interesting because I'm probably in a similar boat. I've played fewer Mario games than you have, but I think the one I've played the most, which will probably surprise a lot of people, is the Wii version. Mario Galaxy, I think is what it's called. Yeah, Mario Galaxy. We got a Wii.
Some of that one too.
A Wii for Christmas the year that it came out, and it was like one of the first games that we had. I remember we played a lot of that. Me and my family, my brother and his wife, we'd like sit around and play that all the time. So that's the one I'm most familiar with. I understand like the platformer element of it. Never super huge on Mario. So I thought this might be the game to kind of get me on board, since it's a more of a gaming format that I enjoy.
Yeah, same. And I think Mario's success also too is mostly attributed to just the super slick platforming. Like I have no problem saying Mario controls better in almost all of his games than almost any other game.
Yeah, it definitely feels like you have really good control over your character given the controls that you're given. And I'm not familiar with Sonic much at all, other than perhaps like the original Sega games. But I always remember feeling there was maybe like a little lag or something, that maybe it was just old equipment when I was playing. But it always seemed that Mario was a step ahead in that direction. But
yeah, Mario definitely controls a lot tighter than Sonic does.
So I definitely wouldn't say it's one of my favorite series, but I think this game definitely pushed me closer to that direction. But I think it's that it does have that really different feel to your normal Mario fare.
Yeah, I mean, that might be an understatement.
Definitely, because it feels like when the Zelda games started coming out, like Link's Awakening was a really big switch from what the games had been up until that point. It was like an Elseworlds sort of story. And that's what this feels like, where it's like, well, it's Mario and it's all the stuff you know and love, but it's really different.
Yeah, I was really surprised at like the lack of Mario stuff, I guess. Like I'm not upset by it, but I was like, oh, so this will be a whole game about like Koopas and Goombas and things like that. Because I played like I said, I played some of the Paper Marios, and that's kind of how those went. But this just had a lot of enemies that I was like, oh, it's uh like a little bow guy. Like I don't
Yeah, a lot of the bad guys in this feeds into a larger point of the game that we'll get into more later. A lot of the bad guys don't really continue on into other things.
do any of them.
Yeah, like it becomes like folklore of the Mario world. And like the popular like Geno character that was like ridiculously insanely popular hasn't really continued on other than these like really bizarre sort of Easter eggs, and we'll get into that more later too. But like it's a very bizarre Elseworlds where the enemies like they're strange and they don't really stand out.
Yeah, I mean, even I just, just finished it and I already was like, what's a weird enemy? It like took me a second to recall them because they didn't, some of the bosses stuck with me and I'm sure we'll get into that. But yeah, some of the generic enemies, I was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's not your turtles and stuff as it always is. There's
Yeah,
some of
except
that.
for the one Koopa that was like an absolute unit of a Koopa. He was hysterical.
hmm Like the first sort of like boss you encounter is like this weird like character that feels like he should have been elsewhere, but he's just is he a lizard or something, like a crocodile, I think.
Yeah, yeah, he reminded me of Chomper from The Land Before Time.
Okay, I'm not as familiar with The Land Before Time.
It's this little purple T-Rex.
Okay, so yeah. And it feels like a legacy character, but it is not.
Yeah, this is one that like Birdo in the games always felt like a mistake. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like Birdo just showed up in the code of the game, and after the game was released, they were like, "How do we explain this thing?" And a lot of the enemies kind of struck me that way. That it was like, "Did you code that? No, did you? Well, he's in there."
But yeah, so I think that's what pushes it into like the quirky tone of this is definitely what stands out to a lot of people, and then like the RPG mechanics that sort of bled into what would become Paper Mario. But it seems that Paper Mario, which I'm not super familiar with, is like the spiritual sequel to this, but it has like some very like loose narrative threads, I guess.
I wouldn't even say that.
Yeah.
Like, I feel
So
like this is pretty standalone. But a lot of it feels like most Mario games are pretty standalone to me. Like, I know there's greater lore, and it's weird that like I'm not super into Mario because I like watching Mario stuff. I like watching content creators like Grand Pooh Bear and Small Ant do these crazy Mario challenge things. And I don't know if he's finished it yet, but I know Grand Pooh Bear at one point wanted to do like a comprehensive lore of the Mario world and try to like tie all the games into each other. But it really is that they're all just standalone. And for the most part, I mean, I think Galaxy 1 and 2 tie together and things like that. But
mhm.
other than that, it always seems like we pick up with Mario on another adventure where, you're starting and it's like there's no bearing for where this takes place in the greater Mario timeline, if that's even a thing. And I think that's part of why I don't care for Mario as much too, because I get really into lore. And I get really into those timeline things, and I'm big into continuity and things like that. And so Mario just doesn't really have a lot to offer to me in that way.
hmm So overall, did you enjoy this game? What would you out of 10 rankings or feel like they're hard to do, but like what's your overall impression of this?
I mean, that's kind of spoiling it for the end, don't you think?
Oh, you want to save it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So let's get right into our cast of characters, which feels kind of small, but also this came out on the SNES.
Yes.
So maybe not small for the time, but you have 5 characters. How did you feel about the characters? Did you have a favorite?
I mean, Bowser and Geno for sure. Because I like when RPGs offer characters that you're not too used to playing as, and so it was cool to see Bowser fighting alongside Mario. That was even possible, and then Geno is a living puppet that has a gun attached to his arm. Like I had to use Geno, just also that and all the mystique around Geno because I was big into Smash Bros. And so not knowing exactly who this character is that people just want in Smash Bros. So bad, I definitely had to use him just to have that experience doing it.
It's interesting in tropey, anti-tropey, I suppose, to have the normal villain be on your side because he gets bullied by the villainous Smithy.
Yes, but we don't know that at the start. It's the sword.
Yeah, the evil sword.
Yeah, that was something.
Yeah.
I'll say too about the cast of playable characters. Before going into this, I did not even know Mallow was a character. No
I
one
didn't either.
no one ever talks about Mallow.
And he didn't really strike me. I wasn't a fan. Like I thought he was very useful in the beginning. Like like his thunder, like the multi-attack thunder is super useful, but it feels like after a while it becomes either not strong enough to really affect anything, or I just wasn't farming him hard enough.
Yeah, I don't even know. And then to get into some plot stuff, um, I for one was shocked to learn that Mallow is not a frog.
I didn't. I guess I didn't really have a good sense of that. Like it just kind of looked like a thing. Like it didn't really read like what it was. Didn't soup like it was like just like a thing. Like it didn't register as like anything specific. And like I didn't go in with like any information on this. I was just playing and like this thing starts following you and like it kind of has like a sling like a yo-yo looking punch thing. So like I had no idea what to make of it. It seemed to think it was a frog, but
Yeah, but then shockingly, he's not. He's a cloud person. I don't know.
yeah.
Um, I did love the sense of humor in this. I already name dropped Shining Force once, and I'll do it again. Because I love the sense of humor in those games because it just is so ridiculous. And this felt like a very similar sense of humor. With like the Mallow Frog thing, and then like one of the early bosses, I don't know his name, but he looks like a cat. He turns Mario into like one of his attacks turns Mario into a scarecrow. And I
Yeah.
was like, that's just so odd. Like I have no idea why he's a scarecrow. And like it might be that like there's some Japanese lore thing that's like the cat that turns you into a scarecrow, ooh, or like it's a fairy tale or something that I'm just not aware of. But I definitely need to go look that up because I'm really curious about what that's about.
Did so we talked about Malo a little bit, and so the one we haven't really hit on yet, and we'll dive more, is Peach. So Peach is essentially like a healer, basically. Is that like a unit? Do you like having a healer like in general, or are you just kind of like meh?
It depends on the game. Some games like it a lot. Some games, eh. And this kind of game, eh. Because I find that most of the time, like I'm dealing with fights before people die, and then out of combat, it's not too big a deal to heal them up. So
Hmm. And it seems like if you're up on your items, like it's more useful to have 3 attackers and
hmm
just like go the item route than trying to like sustain a healer.
yeah, it's kind of that like if I can just resolve this fight quicker, I won't need a healer. But if I bring a healer, I'm going to need one.
Sounds about right. And then I looked up some like ranking lists of the 5 characters
Oh, I didn't think to do that.
because I was curious how people liked it. And it seemed like the most popular ranking was Mario, Geno, Malo, Peach, and Bowser. And I was really surprised to see Bowser at the bottom of the list. I got thinking about other RPGs, specifically the Third Age in this case. And I was thinking you get a Rohan rider like later on in the game, and he's like a cool, interesting character, but it's like too late to really integrate him unless you really kind of like bust your hump to like level him up. And I feel like that's kind of what happened to Bowser in this game. That like you get like a cool looking character, but it's too late to really do anything with him.
Yeah, I definitely had to put some effort into making him workable, but it was more about just the fun of having him there for me,
Mm-hmm.
more than him being good.
I think that's one of like the funny parts of the game is that like the bully was bullied.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. And then I like that he kind of has to justify it to himself too. Like at the end of the game, you have him like some dialogue of him thinking to himself, like, I can't just work with Mario, so I've got to come up with some reason. I know it's what I need to do, but
Yeah. And I think that's because Mario games aren't normally known for their like really like deep dialogue. Like it's usually like you have your story where you save your princess and that's your story.
mm-hmm.
Like there might be a little more, but there's not usually extra stuff. This game adds extra stuff, and I think both of us like extra stuff in games, so
Yes.
it works out well. One thing I wanted to ask you about was characters that got slighted from this game. Were you playing through this and just like, where's Waluigi? Where's Yoshi at?
I
Like
don't know, because I'm like, was Waluigi even a thing?
he might not have been actually, now that I think about it.
I think this came before Waluigi. I'm not positive on that. I forget which game he started in, but it is funny you mentioned that because he is my favorite, like my go-to in like Mario Party and stuff. I always play as Waluigi
It's how
because
tall he is.
like yeah, purple's my favorite color, so I'm already like, oh, there's a purple one, I got to pick that one. But then also just how goofy and over the top he is with everything is, I just love him.
Hmm. But did you like if beyond the realities of some of the characters existing, were you would you want others or were you kind of content with the five?
Um, I mean, I always like more characters, but
Hmm.
I don't know if it needed it, but yeah, I'm always happy to get more characters. I almost wish I would have seen some more of the like just regular or some more of the weird enemies from the like early Mario games. I think that would have been a really interesting place to use some of those. Like have the I forget which Mario game it is because they all kind of blend together for me. Those earlier ones, it's either 2 or 3 that has the like bird mouth that you leave out of to get out of levels. Like it would have been fun to have like that be on some of the doors.
Oh, are you thinking of Six Golden Coins?
I don't know what that is, so probably not.
Oh, that was a Game Boy one where you go through certain maps and like you're collecting the six golden coins.
I see. I have no idea.
Okay, never mind then.
Some of those maps that you go through are probably from the game I'm talking about.
I think so. It sounds like it. But I think it would have been fun to have more. Like I understand the limitations of this and the fact that it like exists at like the quality that it does is like really fascinating because I feel like it like holds up pretty well. Like
I mean,
graphically maybe not, but like
yeah.
story-wise, like a remake of that would probably do okay.
Yeah, I mean, even just the re-release of it on Switch that is on the online thing, I think is doing pretty well. But I mean, it was co-developed with Square, who makes all the Final Fantasy games. So, I mean, if they know anything, it's RPGs, right?
Well, that was like the original intention was that Miyamoto wanted to make a more marketable RPG kind of thing back then. And
Mm.
so they took their one of their top IPs and made it an RPG, and then we got this.
I didn't even know that, and it's interesting to me to hear that because they're still kind of doing that today. I feel like with a lot of things, like like for SRPGs, we got Mario plus Rabbids. So like if Fire Emblem's too intense for you, we've got the Rabbids and Mario running around. And it's another one that you're like, how did that happen? How did that get made? And it's like probably similar mindset. Like Same with sports games, it's like, I don't like sports games. Well, what if we made it zany and put Mario in it? Okay, I like these sports games.
Oddly enough, he genre bends well into other styles of games.
Mario Kart, I don't care for racing games.
Yeah.
Mario Kart's good.
But like everybody plays Mario Kart.
Yeah, it's just fun. It's like I think it's because maybe that it's for Mario, a lot of the times fun comes first.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not about that continuity stuff or it's not about that continuity stuff or realism or anything except how fun it is.
And I think that serves it well. And I think something I want to get into more after the break is the fact that this game is ridiculously popular and like the characters from it are ridiculously popular, but there's never been any like remining of the top, like the characters or the story or anything. Like, it exists, people love it, and it's kind of morphed into Paper Mario. So we can get into that more after the break. But I think like Yoshi would have been fun to have in there. Like a bunch that probably, like you were saying, didn't exist would have been fun. Like, I'm sure like when Luigi showed up on the scene, but that would have been fun. Like a remake with like giving like Luigi his vacuum would be cool.
Yeah, or like letting Wario grab enemies and just shake them up and down as coins fall out of them. Like,
yeah, that'd be cool. That's actually a really good idea. Giving him his smash attacks.
I don't know. I'm sure the Mario RPG purists are like, no.
But
I don't know. I don't know how that community feels about a remaster or a remake.
Or even just like a sequel.
I know people want a sequel. I know that.
Yeah.
It seems like people really want at least Geno and anything else.
Yeah. Well, how about we cut to a break, and then when we get back, we'll go into the Geno and the fact that this has weirdly sat on the shelf a long time, despite its popularity.
Sure thing. That sounds good to me.
All right, so we will be right back.
Hey there, podcast listeners. I am David.
And I'm Kate.
And together we host a podcast that you might be interested in if you like The Legend of Zelda.
There are lots of awesome podcasts out there and a lot of awesome Zelda podcasts out there.
That's right, Kate, and we are another one of them. In fact, that is the name of our show, Another Zelda Podcast.
And in our show in particular, we talk about some of our favorite dungeons, characters, boss battles. We do a couple top 10 lists here and there.
We have some deep dive episodes, and we even pepper in a couple quiz episodes.
We talk about our own experiences. We do some review episodes, talk about our challenges, our struggles, and our victories.
That's right. If it has to do with The Legend of Zelda, we talk about it.
You can check out our episodes on our website, anotherzeldapodcast.com.
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and a lot of the other podcast services that are out there.
And you can also check out our episodes on our website, anotherzeldapodcast.com.
All right, we will see you there.
Okay, bye!
Jake, have you ever been looking for a definitive Nintendo ranking and can't seem to find it because it's just everybody's own opinion?
Honestly, all the time, Sam.
Well, I'm looking for someone to give us the answers.
Wait, you mean like a podcast made by two young, handsome men where they create a definitive top 5 list of all things Nintendo?
Should we just do it ourselves?
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
Let's give it a shot. I'm Sam.
And I'm Jake.
And at Top 5 Nintendo, I'm going to give you my top 5 list.
And I'm going to give you my top 5 list.
And then we're going to duke it out and see what the real top 5 is.
Hello and welcome back from the break. We are back and ready to go. And what I wanted to start off with in our second half is why this is sort of sat on the shelf. Like, why did this not become more? Because if this were released nowadays, there'd already be 4 sequels announced, all branching out the lore with like a Geno spin-off game. Do you think it's just like the fact that it came out in 1996 that sort of it was a different gaming environment, so it just sort of got stuck there?
I think that Nintendo doesn't do that for Mario games. I think that people wanted things like a new Super Mario Strikers for a really long time, and it took a really long time. But once Nintendo kind of finishes with something, it feels like they do kind of finish with it. Like they're done. So it's why we don't have things like Mario Sunshine 2. Like Sunshine was tons of fun, and like I'm sure a lot of people would be up for that. But it's like, well, and like once we're done with it and we put it on the shelf, we can't take it off again. Nintendo just has some strange ideas about these things that Western companies don't. And sometimes that's really great, and sometimes it makes me wish they would do some things. It just kind of depends, because you obviously don't want to beat something over the head too much. I think we could do with a Mario RPG too, and it wouldn't break the bank, or it wouldn't exhaust all of the goodwill. But yeah, they just seem very stubborn, and I think the actual real reason is because the real reason we haven't gotten a sequel and Geno hasn't been in other things is because the rights are all shared with Square. And so everything that Nintendo could possibly want to do, they have to ask Square. I don't know if Nintendo likes that, because I think it was I don't know if they had the same deal with Rare with like some of the Donkey Kong stuff. Nintendo might have retained all the rights to it, but I thought there might have been some Donkey Kong characters too that didn't show up anymore because Rare has them. Nintendo wanted them, they would have to talk to Rare about it, and Nintendo just doesn't seem to like to play with others in that way. And they're getting a lot better about that. With things like Cadence of Hyrule coming out and letting other people like, Ubisoft got to develop Mario and Rabbids, like we were talking about in part 1 of this episode. That was unthinkable even just a couple of years ago. So, and Koei got to do, Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors. So it's been really great to see Nintendo branch out. And maybe they'll keep doing that. And especially with Smash Bros, like them already having to reach out to all these different companies, maybe we'll be on better terms for the future and we'll get some of these things.
Because I know that it was heavily rumored and definitely wanted that Geno was almost playable in Smash Bros. And you can technically play as him with like some kind of customizations and stuff. You can get him as like the Mii skin.
Yeah, but that doesn't really count. Like, yeah,
so
Smash Bros. Players aren't super excited about that. If you guys are not super into Smash Bros, I really was, and still keep up with it. But whenever there was a new announcement, whenever Sakurai was like, okay, here's the Mii costumes we're adding, everybody crosses their fingers that their character's not there, because if your character is there, they're not getting added as a full character. So it just became like the deconfirm segment where it's like, haha, you're not getting Doom Guy, and you're not getting Master Chief, and you're not getting... It was just stuff like that I think it was kind of funny. And there's some that I'm like, sure, like, we were never going to get, like, they added the Black Knight from Fire Emblem Path of Radiance at one point, and I was like, that guy was never going to be a character, so I'm glad he's here. But yeah, when Geno popped up in that, I heard the screams around the world.
But they obviously know that there's an audience for that character specifically.
Yeah, and I think too, I'm not sure he's as popular in other countries as he is in America. I was going to pull that up real quick. Let me see here.
While you're looking at that, I actually have a story about, not Geno specifically, but growing up, I grew up in a Christian home, and there's this Christian video children's series called VeggieTales, which is kind of a strange little series. And there's this Christmas special called The Toilet Saved Christmas, and it's about a wooden puppet character that looks exactly like Geno, but he has a chainsaw arm. And
I remember this.
That's what I was thinking of the entire time I was playing this game. I was thinking of that strange movie I watched as a child. But Geno has a cannon for an arm rather than a chainsaw. But maybe a chainsaw would be a cool DLC item.
Yeah. So where does Geno place on that? Geno got 8th in that.
Really?
Yeah, there's weird characters ahead of him, though. Like, there's ones like, I definitely feel like Geno's more popular than Shantae, and Shantae's right ahead of him.
I'm not sure who Shantae is, to be totally honest.
She is. She's been on Nintendo consoles since like Game Boy Color, I think. She's like a belly dancer or something. I've not played her games, but you'd know her if you saw her. The ones ahead of him are like Bandana D, Sora, Steve from Minecraft, Rayman, Waluigi, and then the number one in that fan poll I'm looking at was the Heavy from Team Fortress 2. I'm having trouble finding the one by country though.
Like maybe it's just that it was a different character, that a Pinocchio-style character is the character that people fell in love with. And if you're like a big Geno fan, like leave us a comment. Let us know like what it is about his character that like gets you so excited.
Okay, I found it. Yeah, so for the US, he is 4th, losing to Shantae, Crash, and Sora. And I forget how did they do this? This is data based on Twitter responses, analyzing like all the requests that people have made on Twitter, it seems like.
Ouch. Seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm sure they use an algorithm to just go collect like how often were the words Smash Bros. And Geno put together. It's probably something like that.
Hope so.
But yeah, he's 4th for the US. He's 6th for Europe. And he does not show up in Japan's top 10.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's really weird to see some of these things. And I don't want to get too off topic, but there's just some weird ones. Like Europe wanted Agumon at number 8 from Digimon. They also wanted Jibanyan from Yokai Watch. And the other 2 countries did not care about that, I guess.
So did Geno move you as a character? Was that... We got into it a little bit, I guess, but...
I mean, if I'm honest, not really. Like, I think that part of the appeal of Geno is the nostalgia and almost the meme that, like, this guy can't catch a break. He can't end up in any other games. He just can't. It's like Americans really like to root for the underdog, like, really hard. And Geno is definitely the underdog at this point. Did he move you a lot? Like, it just felt like there wasn't a lot of character growth. It just was sort of, I'm alive, I'm coming with you. And I definitely enjoy games. Like, there's some Fire Emblem characters and things like that that absolutely do exactly that. I'm alive and I'm coming with you. But I don't know. He just didn't stand out to me. Like, he was fun in that game. Geno is not going to be a top 10 character for me of all time.
I'm probably in the same boat. That I imagine that nostalgia is a big part of it. Not because he's a bad character or it's a bad game or anything like that. Just like, I think about games I'm nostalgic for and I'm like, oh yeah, well, like Barathor from the Third Age is a top 10 character. But like no one else on Earth is going to agree with me unless they've played the Third Age.
I mean, I've played that, loved that game, and I'm still sitting here like, are you serious?
That was just an example.
Oh, okay. I was like, really? Like, yeah, I don't even think people that have played that game would agree with you on that one.
I don't agree with me on that one. So if you want an episode on our top 10 favorite characters, you know where to leave comments. Overall, I think you're probably right that rights sharing is the reason why this hasn't happened. And the fact that it's sort of lumped into the Paper Mario banner is probably a pretty big part of it too, is that, oh, well, we went in this other direction where we conveniently were able to leave Square out of it kind of idea.
Yeah, and I just realized, too, to circle back for a second, that, like, we put it down and we're done with it. Think about the last time we got, like, an F-Zero or a Star Fox game. Like, we just don't. And then when we did finally get Star Fox, it was like, yeah, but you have to control it with the Wii U gamepad and look around your room and stuff like that. It can't be, we can't just leave well enough alone. We've always got to do something to change it. So even if we got another Super Mario RPG, it might be like motion controlled or something. I don't know. I don't know how we could make it weird.
There'd be some sort of like modern like gameplay gimmick to it. Change the flavor of the original game.
You can only play it in Switch handheld mode, and you can only walk by walking around your room with it in your pocket.
I'm just going to take your word for it.
No, I'm just making things up.
What are some other things that kind of stuck out to you about it?
Oh, I've got notes. So the fire bomb in the game looks like the bomb from Star Fox that has like the big B on it, and I thought that was fun. I liked all the mini games. There was like the minecart one, and then the ones where it was like you have to hide behind curtains, and then the one where you're a statue. And that was probably the most ridiculous one, that like the artist sneaking Mario into the castle as a statue. Like that was really funny to me. The super jump, I watched in a speed run of this. Oh, I'll get into that in a second. I also thought still on that castle thing, the lady of the castle, Valentina, the jiggle physics on her definitely awakened something in some of these people that played this game as like 10-year-olds. I found that really funny. Like, and I was just like, man, this is definitely a Square thing, because like today Nintendo would never. But I found that really funny.
Interesting. I guess I didn't really notice that.
I don't know how you couldn't. The Aidens, they were called. I made sure to get their names. The weird Sentai stuff. That they were like the multicolored Power Rangers. And I was like, it's weird that like I show my age a little, because when I see Sentai stuff, which is, if you don't know, is like the Japanese term for Power Ranger like things. I forget what the actual definition is. But it's essentially like people dressed up in colorful costumes, and everybody's one color or something like that. And then they're usually like superheroes, sort of. When I see that, I think Power Rangers, because that was my first exposure to that. I wonder if kids today see that and they think Among Us.
Okay, sure.
Because like
Maybe.
that's the multicolored like thing they know. Like that thought hit me, and I was like, that's really odd that would be potential. There's potentially that difference there. I liked the getting into Bowser's Keep, all the different doors and stuff that you could take. There was a bunch of different ways that could go. I thought that maybe added even more replayability. And that had another fun mini game, like playing the ghetto version of Donkey Kong.
Entering and exiting lots of doors has that Mario 64 flavor to it, because you have all the potential options available to you.
Yeah, that's true. I was thinking even one of the original ones where you're going into Bowser's Keep and there's all the doors that you're constantly going through, and there's fake doors that take you back to the start and you have to find the real way through. I also I have it in my notes, I wanted to go back and make sure that I mentioned we did see Birdo in this game. I took more notes on the bosses too, because I knew people might want my thoughts on that. Bowser is a creepy looking boss, like the bow guy. I thought that was pretty strange. Punchinello, I did go check the names. The purple guy with the witch hat and long arms you fight in the mine, he looks like something out of Nightmare Before Christmas. And then I was saying I watched a speed run of this as well, and that was pretty fun. So I watched the guy like do the super jump and do 100 perfect jumps in a row. That was pretty fun. Like multiple fights call for that in the speed run, so I thought that was pretty fun. But then the coolest part was that he started doing things where like he would get a star power up, which lets you run through like enemy encounters without fighting them. Mm-hmm. And then he would, after he got that power up, he would switch people's spots in the party and switch their items and then get a level up. And so it got confused about what characters were in the party. So it gives like Mallow's heal to Peach, I think. And then, or Mallow's lightning, it gives to Peach. And then he also did it again with Geno and gave Geno's like big Geno blast thing to Peach. And so that was super weird. And so he was like, yeah, if you have Peach use Geno blast or whatever, she turns into a pink Geno.
Is that a glitch?
I guess. Because she wouldn't, I don't think she would I don't know if you would see that in normal play ever. I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Then there was the hidden Easter egg of the Final Fantasy guy.
I was going to ask you about this. Is that something you thought was really cool, or did you just find it like kind of super out of place?
Both.
Yep, I think same.
It's super out of place, but it's also really fun. And it for like a hidden boss, I think that's fine. I'm like, if you're gonna hide something in a game really well, you can put almost anything, and I'm not gonna diss that because it's just fun to have those super well hidden things. But I think it was a really fun inclusion because Square was part of this, just to kind of tie all that in. And the lore junkie in me is like, oh, Mario and Final Fantasy happen in the same world. Like as a kid, I totally would have thought that, and I would have thought that was super cool.
Where's Sephiroth?
I think he came a lot later than this too. But
Where is he?
I would probably, the way I was as a kid, like the next Mario game, I'd be playing like Mario 3 and I would be looking for Sephiroth or something, or like the Black Mage. Like he's got to be here somewhere.
He's canon, I know it. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool just because like tonally it like is so different to have like Mario going up against like a Final Fantasy boss. Like you're not gonna like see that beyond like maybe like a fan mashup or something.
Or Smash Bros.
Yeah.
Is like the crossover before Smash Bros. Could do it.
The very reason it happened is probably the very reason why it won't happen again. Like you were saying.
I don't know. I mean, never say never. Like I said, Nintendo's getting better at playing with others, so Super Mario RPG super fans, you can have hope that maybe one day.
The final boss, Smithy.
Yes.
The bosses in this, like if I were 12, this would be like, I would probably think this is very, very funny, but the adult in me is like, I don't know. I guess, I get it. How about you?
Yeah, kind of same. Like, I didn't love them that much. And it's again, like, if I had tons of nostalgia, I surely would, because I definitely like things that are on the same tier, I think. But I don't know that I like them that much. I'm not chomping at the bit to get Smithy in another game. I'm not, like, hoping he's added as DLC for Mario Strikers or anything, or Mario Maker 2 or anything like that. I don't know. He's one that I'm kind of okay with being a little bit of a one-off. And then I also thought it was funny that, like, as an adult, there's definitely that message at the end that's like, weapons are bad. And as an adult, I'm like, it's so weird that, like, there's probably people that would get upset at that being in today. And I just thought that was interesting that it's like, as a kid, the amount of stock I would put into that is like next to none.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just interesting that that was kind of the message that they were going with. And I'm like, it's especially weird that like the Final Fantasy people are going to be like, swords are bad.
Well, I think like when you're a kid, the main point usually is lost on you and you get something entirely different from it.
Yeah, it's more akin to don't run with scissors.
Exactly. So it's like you hear it, you might even process it, but like the final point was you got to play with a puppet with a cannon arm. That's
Which
your main...
also is kind of a weapon. Maybe that's why Geno has to go away at the end.
Yeah, did that break your heart?
No, but I think it's also, I didn't know that would happen. But
Mhm.
I did kind of wonder, like, I assumed they wouldn't leave it a loose end. I assumed they would have some sort of end for him that's like, if he doesn't come back, it's fine, and there's a reason for it.
I think it makes sense. I think it wraps up really well in that it doesn't necessarily need a sequel. Like, is the blacksmith going to return and make some new, like, is there going to be like a Macy, like a mace weapon that like is attacking the world? I guess like it feels like a complete game.
He becomes now it's a nerd with a 3D printer. And he's just printing Goombas. Like, I could see it. They did what is it, Kirby and the Kirby's Epic Yarn, where everything's yarn, and they did Yoshi's Woolly World. They could do Mario and the cursed 3D printer, and like,
It's not a horrible idea.
I don't know. It might be.
Like it might not be a great idea, but it's definitely an idea that could go somewhere. I could see that. That would fit tonally with what this is.
Maybe, yeah. And then you could print like new Genos or something. And something else I just thought of that just occurred to me is if I was a kid playing this also, Geno is one of like 3 toys, and he's the one that comes to life. I definitely would be like, how do I make the other 2 come to life? Because what are the other ones? It's like Mario, and then like, is it Bowser or is it Toad? I forget. It's fine. But I just know I definitely would have been like, there must be a way. There must be a way for them to join me too.
Yeah.
That's just how my kid brain worked.
Again, the DLC is going to be loaded with stuff.
Oh yeah, the DLC for the eventual Steam PC port of Mario RPG. Final Fantasy's doing those pixel remasters. They'll call it something like that.
It'll be the 3D printer Super Mario RPG pixel remaster
plus Bowser's inside story
in the 2D HD style that's so popular right now.
Yeah, it's weird how big that got, how fast. But I dig it, so I'm not upset.
But we've veered off course a little bit. So, any final thoughts?
My final thoughts to return back to your first question of did I like it? Not out of 10, but like what would I say? The way I would sum this one up is it's fun. I would recommend people play it. But I think that nostalgia heavily factors in, and I don't know that it's going to be a classic with you unless you're already a mega Mario fan. And if you are, then I don't know why you haven't already played this. But yeah, I'd say it's fun. Just it's not going to be in my top 10 of all time, but I'm glad that I took the time to take a look at it and actually know more of what people were talking about.
Yep, I would agree. I had put feelers for this out on Twitter, wondering if people would want an episode for it, and it seemed like there was pretty decent response. Going and playing it, I knew that there was a lot of like internal hype for the game, and I definitely enjoyed it. I had fun. Again, I probably wouldn't put it in my top 10 RPGs or anything like that, but again, as not a super hardcore Mario person, it wasn't my exact thing, but I thought for what it was pretty incredible and a lot of fun.
Yep.
So,
wahoo!
We start it that way, we end it that way. Only here at the Turn by Turn podcast. So, thank you everybody for listening. As always, keep the conversation going by messaging us on Twitter at the Turn by Turn Pod. You can find us on Instagram at the Turn by Turn Podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever podcasts are sold. Chris, where can they find you?
You can find my personal account at Chris_Harkey on Twitter. And you can find me on YouTube at Nihil, Nihil, where I'm always playing some sort of SRPG like Fire Emblem or Shining Force or things like that. So you can find me over there and tell me all about why I should like Super Mario RPG more than I do.
All right, and you can, if you want to find me, you can find me at McGarr Mentions to see what I'm mentioning. And until next time, we will talk to you then. Bye. Do you want to say goodbye too?
I can. Bye.